Heads up, I'm going to put kind of an important message at the end of the video, but I don't want you all to wait through like 4 minutes of me talking about not the review first. So if you're a fan, stick around at the end, and huge thank you to Lavi for once again helping me to get a figure that I'm finding to be unobtainium. My fans are the absolute best. I love you guys. It's Studio Series Bumblebee. Bumbawea-Chuna. Ace Ventura When Nature Calls is significantly better than Ace Ventura 1, Fight Me. But first, your likes! Please subscribe. After the disastrously awful original Studio Series Bumblebee movie figures, Hasbro has finally decided to do a revision. I wonder if there's a new shatter in the cards now. And it's still pretty fucking bad, but significantly less bad. And I'll be honest, I kinda think that the live-action Studio Series maybe sucks. A lot. The line gets so much hype, but like a fifth of the figures I've ever gotten from them were like, hell yeah, this feels like what it's billing itself as. And almost all the bad ones have the exact same problems. The appearance of this thing not being one of those though. Bumblebee was a little swoller in the movie than this, but this does a way better job than the original capturing the proportions from the film. The sculpt nails all the little details and quirks of the design so perfectly. And while the back isn't the cleanest, I think it's pretty okay. I've seen way worse backpacks. Plus you can twiddle the wings around like in the movie, and it gives this guy some extreme personality. This feels almost perfectly like the character from the film, which I suppose it's important that something feel good on this thing, because otherwise this is cancerous in the hands. There is not one joint on this thing that feels like a joint should. Hips wobbly as fuck, arms stiffer than Deadpool when he looks at Hugh Jackman, elbows that are about as ready to droop to the floor as a moody teenager's, backpack has jiggle physics, knees are cursed with the stanky leg. Look, I could go on and on over every one of these. They all feel bad. Some of them are too tight, some of them are too loose, but all of them feel like your hands are trying to cry when you touch him. I always talk about hand candy, but this is more like hand smelling salts. You just touch it and go,
ah. The light.
One thing I can give to this is that the paint is mostly seamless. It's hard to tell what is and is not slathered on after the fact, and with a figure made of this much clear plastic, that's pretty impressive. Though the telltale signs of it do pierce through the wings. And you all know me, I'm one of the least fearful of clear plastic reviewers out there, but this stuff is thin. So yeah, I do feel a lot of trepidation handling this because at any point I'm worried that something is going to shatter. Like all it would take is any one of like 12 joints to crack and he's down one wing and he can't even transform anymore. I'd have been a lot happier with opaque plastic here, even if they did really manage to make the paint pretty seamless. But even still, this is a massive upgrade over the original, which hilariously also probably had worse QC, and more clear plastic too. I kind of really wish right now that I had both to compare, but for sure, despite the fact that that thing was by far not the worst of the Studio Series for this movie, this just looks more like him. It has his vibe, his proportions. He doesn't have weirdly extended shins. Oddly enough, he wound up with what looks to be the exact same part hanging off of his calves. It's just that on this, it's upside down compared to the original. I will say that the closed fists do feel like kind of a mistake though. When I think of Bumblebee from that movie, the hands are very open and welcoming, even if the dude did brutally kill like 4 cons in it. Seriously, you little psycho, most people just shoot their enemies, but you stomped one dude's head off, strapped a bomb to another guy's chest, threaded a bit of wire through a dude's flesh and ripped it out, and body slammed a bitch with a boat so hard she erupted. That face was meant to be cute, but there is murder behind those eyes. Speaking of, this head is pretty excellent. I wish you could twiddle the ears like the wings, but sadly Hasbro was too sadistic for that. There's not a ton of paint on this part, as Bumblebee's face is crammed down into the lower third of his skull, but he doesn't need more. Hilariously, this kind of makes it look like he's got a tiny mouth and he's just going, which is both very endearing and also it makes him look like a racist old man. So maybe this head should have wound up on Ironhide instead. Now you may think that I just said that because the character sounds old and southern, but that's because when he says, back in my day, he means before the Civil War. I mean, he also means before humans existed in the first place, but look at his face. That is the face of a man who tells Jazz to turn his music down. So the look of the robot mode is great. The backpack could be cleaner, especially the wings. But if those had to fold in more places to do that, I think my balls would permanently retract up into my body out of fear. But the look is fantastic. However, the way this feels is so fucking terrible, it's like most live-action Studio Series figures. This line, in general, just feels like this. Now, this is a particularly bad example, but if you've handled something from this line before, you know how fiddly it is, how thin all the plastic is, how wobbly the joints are, how much of the alt mode is just a shell on part of the figure, and I don't know if that's just a result of the live-action designs really needing to be like that because of how overcomplicated they all are, or if it's just something that these designers keep doing because they don't know how to do it better. On feel alone, I'd probably have to tell you to give this a pass, but don't worry, there's still plenty of time for this to do worse. Starting with accessories. It's Bumblebee's knife and Bumblebee's doofy, ugly, neurotic gun. Like, guys, I get it. You called him Bumblebee. Did everything about him need to look wasp-like or like honeycomb? These are fine, save for one thing. They both feel like they were only made for the right hand. The gun only goes on one arm because that's another stupid thing the movies did, make the weapons hyper-specific to the limbs, but then the blade of the knife is also facing the wrong way. So it for sure feels like he's definitely not meant to dual wield. Amazingly, this did not come with his battle mask, which seems like either an oversight or like an intentional extreme cheaping out thanks to the rest of the figure. So these are typically what you'd expect to see, though perhaps with a bit of an oversight on the knife, where it should have been facing the other way, and they're at least painted well. But I don't think that these are going to save the figure. However, will articulation? Fucking no. The head has more up-down than normal, and more left-right than normal. About a dozen degrees less than 180 180 shoulders, elbows bend a bit more than a 90, and this is where this thing's good points end. No wrists, no waist, hips are super unimpeded forwards and very impeded back into the side, a bit less than 90 knees, and feet with an okay pivot and a good up. There is no reason this thing should pose as badly as it does. The crotch is even a separate piece, it's just screwed down rather than mushroom pegged in for like no reason. The wrists aren't too unacceptable, as it's not like this dude is supposed to hold a normal weapon, but the hips and the knees are just frustrating. I would remind everyone that this is a deluxe figure, but there are a few cores that pose better than this. Maybe that's the real reason why they're terminating the size class. They want people to stop negatively comparing figures from a higher price point to it. And then the transformation sucks, and it sucks in the classic Studio Series way, where you're basically folding a bunch of really thin panels into a shell, and then like one aspect of the robot mode is turning into something that you see on the outside of the car. It's fiddly, it's loose, there's just a lot of slop and play in these parts. Getting things to line up and lock in is like trying to herd a bunch of angry stoats into a locket containing a picture of a true lady's dearest love from World War I. And the funny thing is, that's an insane thing to say, but it also makes so much sense for the sensations here. It just feels alive, and like it doesn't want to go into this object that's way too small for it, that's sliding around like it was manufactured before the perfection of industrial processes. And the result is a really good, cohesive little Volkswagen Beetle. It rolls nice, very few gaps and seams, looks just like it did in the movie, though despite the fact that there aren't many of them, the seams that are there are a problem. The back one specifically likes to make him look like he was cleaved by a drunk forklift driver. As a model of the alt mode from the movie, which he probably spent less time in than most Transformers films, this works out pretty great. But why should anyone put up with the rest of this thing's failings when there are probably more good toys of the Slug Bug than any other vehicle ever made? If all you care about is having a good punch buggy toy, I'm sure that you can find one elsewhere, and when the rest of this is so bad, why would you not? If it weren't for the general sloppiness of the QC, which is a trait I find all too common from the Studio Series line, then maybe I'd say that you aren't in danger of wasting your money. The robot mode and alt mode both look great, so if the robot mode didn't feel like a dead rat in your hands, and that's all you cared about, then this would be a pretty easy winner here. But you'd still have to worry about the clear plastic breaking, you'd still have the inexcusable posing, you'd still have the painfully unfun transformation. It looks good, but that's all you can really say for it. I wouldn't doubt it if you say that yours is better than mine, but I'm not comfortable giving you the go-ahead to pick one up because I expect it to probably be about as bad as mine. But I also won't tell you to run screaming. Now stay tuned for the big channel update. I need to come clean about something that I've been keeping to myself for a while now. You've all basically been warning me about this from the beginning, but I am burning out. Bad. And it's hard to admit because what does that say about me? I have the best, easiest job in the world. I talk about toys on the internet. How lazy and entitled do I have to be to burn out doing this? And back when I started, I was physically incapable of fathoming how this could happen to me. I loved every second of what I was doing. It was so much fun, and it was amazing to get to talk to and get to know all of you guys. It didn't make sense that something that made me this happy could ever wear me out. And to be clear, it's not like I hate what I do now, but what's happening is still incredibly frustrating. I'll sit down to write one of my scripts for the videos, and I'll probably get about 100 words in, and then suddenly I'll have been on YouTube for 3 hours watching shorts, and I have no clue when that happened. None. I never intended to stop writing for a second. I planned on scripting the whole thing in one go. And then at some really early point, my brain just shut off. I went into some kind of fugue state, and I started auto-watching YouTube like some kind of zombie. And as far as I can tell, that's just my subconscious forcibly taking over and going, no, do literally anything else! And then I'll come back to my senses, I'll be really shocked, and then sometimes before I even get back to writing, my brain will do it again. My scripts used to take me 6 hours. They now take me from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep. Just because I'm that harrowingly unproductive. It's terrifying. I'll lose like an entire day and not even remember what I watched because my brain shut down that hard. And it's also making my videos suffer too, I think. I forget to make jokes I've been planning on for weeks, or wind up repeating myself. My scripts are turning into a mess that I'm ashamed of, but I can't fix them because thanks to the burnout, I've already lost every last second before the video goes live. It has to get done the way I already laid it out, or it doesn't get done. And the thing is, I know that it's only going to get worse. I'm not joking. As I was writing this part, which I actually started before the rest of the script for the video, someone messaged me on Discord, and that triggered it. It has been an hour and 40 minutes, and I'm only just realizing I need to come back to this. But back to the topic I was writing about before the fugue state, if things stay the same, it's going to get worse. Even if it's just writer's block, which I've managed to avoid to this point, that's just another way that this can screw me up even more. I still love what I do, but I need to pace myself better. Have more time to recharge my thoughts and think up new jokes. I know that most of you love seeing the long running gags I have over and over, but I would point out that 1, I hear the joke the first time when I write it, the second time when I record it, the third time when I cut the audio, the fourth time when I record the accompanying video, the fifth time when I edit the video together, and the sixth time when I watch the completed video for errors. So academically, I know that you will all still find the joke funny. I've heard it 6 times more often than you have, so of course I'm not going to have the same reaction. The problem is that it kind of makes me not think of the joke in the first place or dismiss it for not being funny. And if I work past that and I'm constantly making jokes that I don't think are funny, very quickly I will stop being funny. Part of comedy is hitting you with the unexpected. Becoming predictable would just turn me into a hack. So here's my plan. And trust me, it hurts to say this, but at least for this month and probably for the next several, but hopefully not forever, every other week will be a week of shorts. 1 week of full videos, 1 week of shorts, 1 week of full videos, 1 week of shorts. And I cannot tell you how much I hate doing that. I know that there are people who are going to tell me that even that is too much work, that I shouldn't be making additional videos just to get weeks off. But the weeks of shorts are actually really restful for me. Instead of making 2 full videos a week, it's just like 2/3 of one, which is a huge load off. And I know how much it means to so many of you that there is something from me to start your days off with. I used to make 3 videos a week, and it rips my heart out that I don't do that anymore. I also don't know how that was ever possible. How the hell did I do that? How the hell did I manage to do that for 2 years? And what's also infuriating is that I'm already struggling to keep up with what Hasbro puts out. This will only make that worse, and it feels like I'm failing you. I am supposed to be here to help keep you informed and to warn you when I think that Hasbro is trying to take advantage of you and not give you something worth your money. Or to shout out their huge wins that they sometimes do, so that way you know to snap them up before they're all gone. It makes me so proud and so happy to be there for you when you need me. But as much as I want to tell the burnout to go fuck itself and get back to the way that things used to be, it just doesn't work that way. This sucks, and I know that the vast majority of you are not upset. I know that the vast majority of you want what's best for me, and I know that I shouldn't feel this way, but I can't help it. I still feel ashamed. Hopefully this worked and I can quickly pivot back to how I want this channel to run. And I suppose, silver lining, if there's a roast demands that you wanted to see for a while, there's never been a better time to join the Patreon or channel membership so you can be there to tell me what you want to see when I ask in the Discord. But if you don't have the money to put in my tin can, or you've got better things to spend it on, just thanks for being here. I only ever want any of you to give me what you can afford to give me freely with no worry and nothing that you'd rather spend it on. And thanks for making these last several years so amazing that I feel guilty for taking more time off work, because I can tell you, I have never felt bad for taking a vacation from any job I've ever had before. You guys rule. Thank you so much for making my life so fulfilling, and sorry if this disappoints any of you. I'm not going to stick the wheel at the end of this 12,000 word diatribe where no one will see it. The wheel will be back on Sunday. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know you know what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.